Welcome to hear some breaking news from the World Circular Economy Forum 2021. The 5th World Circular Economy Forum was held this week, and for the first time in history, it was in North America. The forum was co-organized by the Government of Canada and the Finnish Innovation Fund Sitra. Next, you will hear some key insights from the forum. My name is Riku, and I'm from Sitra. And here in studio, I have with me two bright minds, my colleagues Reetta and Maria. So you are part of the team behind the whole forum. Thanks to you for making this happen.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Maria and Reetta, for starters, would be great to hear some of your key takeaways from the Wcef 2021. So, without further talks, what are your main takes from the forum? And Reetta, you can go first.
Thanks, Riku. Well, what really struck me was the very many ways in which circularity can and has to be communicated to different audiences. I mean, it's not only about making processing plants more efficient, which can be done with circular means, but there is really something for the everyday life of even the toughest shopaholic among us.
And I actually found quite powerful the message of the circular economy being a necessity, but also an opportunity. Yeah, circular economy is a tool to address climate and biodiversity crisis, but it's also a necessity to ensure the future of our human well-being if we want to live on this planet. So we should take that opportunity through circularity.
Yes, and it was said very well at one point in the forum that we now must forget what can be easily done to get to this better future. We must do what must be done.
Yeah, that's a really powerful message. Thanks, Maria and Reetta, for sharing your key takeaways. Indeed, interesting points, and couldn't agree more on these ones. Next, let's go and see what final messages were given at the end of the forum by Alice Henry, the Senior Project Coordinator from SHARE, Reuse, Repair Initiative, and the Master of Ceremonies, Chuck Odenigbo and Catherine Gretzinger.
So we need to keep those goals at the forefront of our minds. We have also heard that a circular economy is a return to nature, that beyond preserving the values of resources, we have the opportunity to regenerate and replenish our natural systems. These systems are not only critical to our own well-being, but to the many species we share this planet with. We need to think beyond our current borders and boundaries to realize fully circular systems rather than standalone circular solutions. We will need to make changes, both incremental and systemic, as individuals and as a collective. Everyone is engaged in the circular economy, as we've heard. It just might look different for different people.
So my two takeaways are very much, one, the idea of governance. I think throughout this entire 2 days, we've seen the importance of leadership at the highest levels in really being able to support people. From our very first session, where we heard Erin from Impact Zero Toronto mention the difficulties that business people face in trying to create circular business models through regulations and whatnot, to the sessions we've just finished hearing all about banking regulations and what's available as financing. So really sort of that governance piece is such a key component. But then the other piece is partnerships, which really goes back to what you just said about listening to people, right? Creating true partnerships, not just between sectors. I mean, I obviously mean sectors as well, public, private, nonprofit, but then I also mean between people. Partnerships between people of various cultures, various identities, and various ways of being. Catherine, I would like you to give every single viewer and everyone who watches this recording a challenge.
A challenge. Change your way, do something different, one thing. One thing that is different and one thing that will intentionally move you into a circular approach to your life.
Those were strong messages from Alice, Chuck, and Catherine. Now let's dig a bit deeper into the themes of circular economy. Maria and Reetta, I think we all have witnessed it in our work that circular economy is going forward, but we still might lack the pace. What do you think? What are the major obstacles to getting circular economy mainstreamed?
Well, it's very easy for all of us, I mean, individuals, businesses, and politicians, to keep going with the old linear way of thinking. The system is still framed so that linear ways of thinking and operating are easier. It's easier to continue as we always have. But the forum pointed out really well that circular thinking isn't actually even a new thing. We heard from indigenous peoples whose understanding of well-being is much more in sync with nature and the ecological cycles, and we may just be a little bit alienated from that way of living.
And to continue with what Reetta said, I mean, also a circular economy should not only be seen as a sustainability niche. I think one of the major challenges is that circularity is seen separate from the mainstream policies. And well, linked to this, the change must happen at many places, at many sectors, many fronts at the same time. And well, I mean, here we need some creative bureaucrats joining forces.
That's true. But what about Reetta? Do you have any concrete examples from these ones?
Sure. I mean, it is in the DNA of businesses to operate as efficiently as possible, but the current incentives do not really encourage for much more to sustainable production or to service provision. The right incentives are needed to actually realize the added value that circularity can bring by removing subsidies and subsidies that keep the linear system in place. And also another thing is that changes are needed to businesses' value propositions. For example, we should shift from selling lots of new products to rather providing services. And here, actually, politicians and the public and administration does play a role in creating these favorable environments for circular business models to really scale, and they can help in embedding these circular thinkings in their decision making.
I agree. I definitely also, in my experience, know that we need to integrate a circular economy to all the policy making, and also, like you said, businesses play a big role in this transition. But well, moving from obstacles to solutions, during the forum we witnessed that there are many concrete steps taking place in the transition towards the circular economy. What do you think? Who is taking the circular economy really seriously with actions?
Well, the Wcef had almost 9,000 registrants from over 150 countries. I would call that a certain level of seriousness and action. But also in the remarks of the speakers, it became really clear how action is happening at all levels and all places. For instance, I found it really interesting how the SME session had a discussion about the flexibility and agility of SMEs. I mean, agility, flexibility, they are central for scaling circular business models.
Yes, and I mean, talking about agility, that's all great, but larger players aren't overlooking the circular opportunities either. I mean, in the session on natural resources, we heard concrete greetings from very heavy industry that are rethinking the very traditional ways of doing business. For example, moving from being a materials and minerals and metals company and supplying those to really being a solutions supplier, and really giving these clear examples of rethinking traditional businesses.
Also, individuals are taking action. I mean, the voice of youth leaders throughout the session underlining their motivations to act for a circular economy was impressive. Circular economy is taking place in homes, and even people who are not really prioritizing sustainability in their everyday life can live in line with the 1.5 degree target. Circularity is also thriving in rural and remote communities. Local and small communities can adapt circularity, can actually do it quite effectively and relatively easily.
Yes, kind of to sum up, circularity is happening on the city, region, country, the global level. But I mean, we could go on giving examples to the end of the day. But the reality is that all circular action still must be adapted to country and region specific contexts. So we've been talking about the challenge of needing this change to happen everywhere. But here we see the crucial work also of these regional and global alliances that actively drive the circular transformation all over.
Yes, indeed, the change is happening on many levels, and I think that's quite positive sign in this our journey towards circular economy. But thank you, Maria and Reetta, for sharing your insights. It was truly great to be here today. We enjoyed, and hopefully you too. Now I challenge all of you to think how you can utilize circular economy in your work. Like the MC Catherine said in the end of Wcef 2021, do that one thing differently. Do the one thing that moves you towards a more circular way of life.